They also are a bit different paper. The Japanese edition is glossy all over, and the English edition has a matte finish on the brown tan background and glossy on the Pokemon. The Japanese edition is also it has a book jacket and an obi strip. Whereas the English is just a single cover. And another slight difference is the paper quality. So the paper quality of the Japanese version is, I don't know, it kind of has a coarseness to the paper. Whereas the English version is smoother paper. But I wanted to look at this book together just to see what kind of information is in here. This is official Pokemon lore. It's written by the Pokemon Company. So I thought it'd be interesting to see what kind of stuff is in here. Another thing that is particularly interesting to me about this is looking at Pokemon through a more realistic lens, thinking about their ecology. In large part because that's actually what I studied in school. So let's look through here. Okay. Starting us off, we have Welcome to the World of Pokemon. This is a world filled with the mysterious creatures known to all as Pokemon. In every corner of this world, you'll find Pokemon, from the deep forests to the tall grass waving in the wind, from the expansive seas to the darkest of caves. But how do they live out their daily lives? How do they interact with their environment and with the other Pokemon surrounding them? Let's take a closer look at aspects of their lives you may never have learned about, and discover the startling truth of their ecology and how they live. Something I really like about this book is it has unique art. A lot of Pokemon books and merchandise uses the same artwork, the same key art every time it's on something, and it's rare to get fully new artwork like this. It was something that I really liked about the old Let's Find Pokemon books, is that they had unique artwork, whereas the modern ones use just cut and paste key art, and it's not nearly as interesting. So I want to give some credit here to the illustrator, which is Chihiro Kinoshita. And they actually are like a genuine animal researcher. So it says here, a native of Okayama Prefecture in Japan with a doctorate in agriculture, specializes in diving physiology and behavioral ecology of marine animals such as sea turtles. After completing graduate studies at the University of Tokyo's Graduate School of Agricultural and Life Sciences, they worked as a research fellow at the Japan Society for the Promotion of Science and have been active as an illustrator since 2023. They've authored books books, including Encyclopedia of Animal Ecology, revealed by the latest research, and Why Do Animals Do That? Behavior Notebook. They've also illustrated works such as Why Do You Spin Around? And Seed Sowing Animals. Chihiro enjoys taking walks along the shore. And then we also have the planning, composition, and text lead, which is Yoshinari Yonohara, who is also a professional in the field of agriculture and animal sciences. A native of the Tokyo metropolis in Japan with a doctorate in agriculture, specializes in the flight mechanisms and behavioral ecology of seabirds such as shearwaters and albatrosses. They conduct research on seabirds on uninhabited islands in the Antarctic and elsewhere, using a method called biologging, which involves attaching data loggers to animals to measure their behavior. They completed graduate studies at the University of Tokyo's Graduate School of Agricultural and Life Sciences. After working as a research fellow for the Japan Society for the Promotion of Science and in other roles, they joined the Pokemon Company in April 2019. And as someone with a background in this kind of field and a lover of Pokemon, I just have to say they've got the dream right here. What a cool job to have doing something like this. So that was really, I'm jealous. That they get to make something like this. But it's also so cool that they got actual professionals in this field. So we'll flip through here, read a couple sections, and see overall what we've got. So we've got where do you find data about Pokemon in a Pokédex. Pokédex is a compendium of data that has been compiled by observing or catching Pokemon. Within it, you'll find the results of all kinds of research and surveys. Some Pokemon display differences in their appearance because they have adapted to best suit the environment they live in. When they have adapted in notable ways due to the region that they live, they may be called regional forms. Read on to see what has changed between these various forms. So we've got regional forms of Executor, Vulpix, Quillfish, Meowth. It's actually 3 forms of Meowth. Farfetch'd and Whooper. I really like this this Viking Meowth on the ship. It's kind of fun. My air just kicked on. I hope it's not too distracting. But I'm gonna keep going. So we've got different forms for different habitats. We've got Vivillon here. The different patterns: high plains, tundra, jungle, ocean, elegant, and then icy snow, polar, continental, garden, meadow, modern, marine, archipelago, sandstorm, river, monsoon, savanna, sun, fancy, and Pokeball. Which one is the Vivillon from your region? And which one is your favorite pattern? I think one of my favorite patterns is ocean. I really like that one. Some other different forms. We've got Ursaluna, the standard versus the Blood Moon. And gosh, Blood Moon is so cool. I love it. I really like standard Ursaluna as well. But Blood happens, it is called a form change. A Pokemon that has changed forms might later return to its original form, or it might change into yet another different form. So for example, they've got cast form, which can be sunny, rainy, or snowy, or normal. Got Sawsbuck, different seasonal variants, or Oricorio, changes based on the nectar that it has drunk. Rotom, it changes based on the machine that it inhabits. Darmanitan, which form changes in battle. When it's weak, it goes to Zen, then it recovers and goes back to standard. Morpeko changes between hangry mode and full belly, when it's hungry, when it's full. Giratina has the origin and altered forms, based on if it's in the distortion world or not. And Meloetta changes when it uses the move Relic Song. And we've got evolution. Most Pokemon are capable of evolution. When a Pokemon evolves, its name and its appearance both change. Many other aspects about it can also change, such as its types, the moves it can learn, how it moves about in the world, where it lives, and more. Learning about how a Pokemon evolves is key to understanding that Pokemon's ecology. So, what changes when Magikarp evolves into Gyarados? Type change, new moves, the way it moves, and its habitat. Different forms through evolution. Different forms through evolution. Pokemon evolution is a fascinating subject to study. Some Pokemon might evolve differently depending on their gender, or based on some inherent quality they were born with, or based on the environment or the conditions surrounding them at the moment of evolution. So, first is gender. So only female Salandit can evolve into Salazzle. And then we have evolving into different forms based on innate characteristics. To Dunsparce, a recent study uncovered that the number of segments a Dunsparce's body has is determined by the Pokemon's genes. So that was a genetic study they were doing in that original illustration here. And then we have Toxel, for example, evolving based on nature into two different forms. We've got different this, we've got 9 different flavors and 7 varieties of sweets for a total of 63 different appearances. 9 flavors are vanilla cream, ruby cream, matcha cream, mint cream, lemon cream, ruby swirl, caramel swirl, or rainbow swirl. And the sweets are strawberry, heart, ribbon, star, clover, flower, and berry, blueberry. I should have included that over here. And then we've got Eevee here, who evolves based on various conditions. It could be evolution stone, time of day, friendliness, or kinds of moves. So a variety of different evolution factors. This is an odd way to end the chapter. The many roles ears can play. Ears can serve many different functions. And they've got some examples there. Okay, chapter 2 is how Pokemon live. They chose Lunatone and Solrock. Interesting choice there. Got ways to get food needed to live. Pokemon obtain food for themselves in order to get the energy they require to live. But how they go about it can vary based on their lifestyles. In fact, there are an astounding number of different ways that Pokemon go about catching and collecting their food. Let's take a look, shall we? First example is searching for food. This is an active search. Going out and looking for prey or browse, whatever it is that they eat. Got Duskull. In the dead of night, these Pokemon wander through towns in search of children whose vital energy is a Duskull's favorite food. Duskull's victims suffer an intense chill as the Pokemon siphons their life force away. We have Pokemon that lie in wait for food, so they sit and wait for food to come to them, such as a trapinch waiting in its hole for something to fall down into its mouth, similar to an antlion in real life. Then we've got adapting to get the food needed to live. Take a look at all the different ways Pokemon approach getting their food. Some search it out, others lie in wait, some make traps while others try to fish up prey. However, pay special attention to how each Pokemon's unique morphology is particularly well suited for the way they obtain their food. So we have attacking. These are Pokemon that attack their prey. Absorption. These are Pokemon that absorb nutrients or other life-sustaining energy in one way or another. This is a weird thing to me. The steel section is Varroom's actual body. So it's just clinging to a rock. That's weird. scent. So using some form of aroma to bring their food to them. Attracting with light, using light to draw in prey. Got some examples of fishing. Slowpoke putting their tail in the water. Or ice cube luring prey with a little ice ball at the tip of their hair to fish. We've got traps like spider webs and tailing prey, following behind so you can catch them later. This way, it not only gets this one, but the others as well. Got various adaptations for obtaining food. Shooting down berries. Drinking dew that drips down. Rolling around in the grass and then eating the grass. Starting a brush fire to scare out your brain. Sensors used to search out food. When it comes to searching out food to eat, Pokemon can take all kinds of different approaches. They don't just search with their eyes. Many use various other parts of their bodies to sense food and use the data they gather to search it out. Let's take a look at some of the ways that different species search out delicious and nutritious food. So we've got searching by smell. Searching by sonar. I don't know why you need sonar to find apples. Various sensors used to search out food. So it's got Cutie Fly can sense which flowers are going to bloom. And Drowsy can sense when people are dreaming. Got omnivores that eat anything. Some Pokemon are perfectly happy eating rotten food or the garbage put out daily by humans. They appear to have very strong organs and astounding digestive abilities. These wondrous Pokemon contribute to keeping the environment around them clean. We've got one of my favorite Pokemon, Grimer. This is the Alolan form. They're helping clean up some trash. Another one of my favorites is Gulpin. We've got converting sunlight into energy, so such as photosynthesis. Some Pokemon are also able to gain energy from the sunlight. They might use that light to carry out photosynthesis or to generate electricity. Since sunlight comes streaming down from above all day long, these species don't have to travel about searching for their food. This is probably a fairly efficient lifestyle. And then we've got Pokemon that their body structure is built upon what they eat, like Sableye populations can be greatly affected, either growing or shrinking, based on factors like whether they face much predation or whether they can secure enough food sources for themselves. So, Lapras, there's now an overabundance. I think in the early Pokédex entries it mentions they are close to extinction, but they were helped to bring back their populations. Now there's too many of them, and the fish populations, like wishy-washy, are declining. This happens with things like when they took wolves out of Yellowstone, the deer populations went up too high, and it was causing damage to the ecosystem as they were overgrazing. So they put the wolves back. It gets the deer population back in control, and the whole ecosystem is healthier because of it. Grimer and Garbodor competing. Corphish and Lotad. Alright, next we have Pokemon's temperatures. Pokemon can have different temperatures at which they are most comfortable living. The body temperature of a given Pokemon may be influenced by the unique characteristics of their bodies and the environment they live in. We see many adaptations that allow different species to regulate their temperatures and keep them just right. Let's look at some of them. So we have hot bodies. I feel the hot ones are always really exaggerated. 18,000 degrees Fahrenheit. 18,000. That's too hot to be believable. And cold bodies. These ones are a bit more tame, but still like negative 290s. Really, really cold. Negative 328. Negative 450. Among the many species of Pokemon discovered, some can display extreme body temperatures. Most of them produce fire or chilled air within their very bodies. Some might temporarily change body temperature in the heat of battle, or give off heat from one part of their body. Bodies that grow hotter in battle, like Reshiram or Typhlosion. We've also got the Blaze breed of Paldean Tauros. Horns heat up during battle. Toucanon's beak heats up. Pyroar's mane. Then we've got internal fires like Taramaka and Pignite, because they have fire within them. And then internal cold, like Galarian Darumaka and Vanillux, that have extreme cold inside their bodies. Regulating body temperature. For Pokemon to live comfortably, it is important that they are able to maintain their ideal body temperature, even if the air temperature around them changes. Some might only use their bodies to pull this off, while others might rely on environmental features like the heat from the ground or sunlight. There are even Pokemon that rely on others within their species to help them keep their body temperature just where they like it. So some Pokemon are able to freely change their body temperature, like Glaceon. Scatterbug can apparently live in any region or climate because of the powder covering its body. So it can even live in the tundra. So that's why there's all the different Vivillon forms. And then there's Pokemon that manage temperature using the environment. So, like Croc buries itself in the sand to stay warm at night when the desert gets cold at night. Leaveney has to keep its eggs warm, so fermenting leaves put off energy that keeps the eggs warm. And there are Pokemon that are affected by body temperature changes. Garchomp is not able to move well when cold, and Cryogonal becomes steam when it gets too hot. Some Pokemon can manipulate the environment to better suit themselves. Some can manage temperature together with others. So Ice Cube